Welcome back to another episode of Real with Ryan, and this episode might just be the craziest experiment I've ever done. One of the things that I love to do, and that honestly makes me feel pretty damn alive, is experiments. Whether that's different types of exercises or challenges or diets or anything under the sun, skills. I love to experiment and try new things, especially when those things could have a positive benefit. A handful of months ago, at the beginning of winter, I tried drinking a gallon of milk for 7 days in a row, and I did it. And that experiment, to me, was so much fun. Of course, I felt pretty miserable drinking a gallon of milk each day, but going through that experiment, seeing what would happen, tracking the, progress and my weight and everything through that was amazing. And honestly, it gave me weight that I carried through winter while I was working out, and it means that now I am as large and as strong as I've ever been. But now it's getting back towards the summertime, and I want to lean up and get back into my fit self and lighten up so that I can do lots of outside activities and sports and things like a triathlon potentially. So this week, I am going to try to eat nothing for 7 days. That's right, I'm going to do a 7-day water fast.
Okay, just a quick warning, I'm editing this video and the footage is really long. So this is gonna be a long video, but it's going to document the entire journey. Every day, what I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, how it's affecting me, and even have some science behind it. So you can skip to this part of the video to see the science. Otherwise, you can skip to the end to see how everything went. But thank you for watching. It's a long video, but I hope you enjoy.
I know this is absolutely a crazy experiment, and the experiment that I've had to prepare for the most, including visiting a doctor beforehand. So why might I do this? Why do I want to drink nothing but water for an entire week? And how will that not kill me? Well, I'll dive into some of the science behind it and some of the reasonings behind it, but I'll leave you at the start of this with just a few objectives here. One, I want to experiment and have fun. And doing things like fasting or experimenting with diets is a way that I do that. And I just enjoy the process of learning what my body's going to do if I put it to the test in different ways. Two, I want to document the loss of fatty weight. So of course, if I don't eat anything, I'm going to lose weight. And hopefully, if I do things correctly, that should be fatty weight. And so I want to document that progress. Three, I want to promote cellular reparation through the process of autophagy, which is a little bit sciencey, but I'll go and explain a little bit about that and how fasting could potentially help promote and stave off neurodegenerative diseases. Four, I want to understand how fasting affects my body specifically. Am I someone who, after a couple days of not eating, gets sick, or do I have any troubles fasting or coming in and out of fasted states? I don't know, but that's what I'd like to find out. And five, of course, I want to stay safe. Now, I plan on doing this for 7 days, which could be, relatively extreme, but, I'm not going to force myself to do this if my body is reacting in a terrible way. So I do want to keep safety at the top of my mind. And for that reason, I don't recommend anyone else trying this. Like I said, I went to a doctor beforehand. I've done a lot of research, and I am ready to do this myself and undertake that risk. An awkward shot here, can't think of a better way to do it, but I wanted to show kind of before I go on the fast what I look like. So in preparation for this video, I have been fasting, intermittent fasting, so eating for 8 hours a day, fasting for 16 hours a day for the past 3.5 weeks or so. And I feel really good when I do that. And I start to lose some fat, start to get in better shape. Generally, I like intermittent fasting. So I've been doing that for a few weeks, have lost a little bit of my fat weight, but wanted to just take a quick clip of kind of what my body composition at least looks like. So I'm a healthy weight. I've got a little bit of flab kind of like on my stomach and love handles, but definitely nothing to like be worried about or nothing that I should like feel like I need to lose. But wanted to show that. So this is me, pretty relaxed. I've got just a little bit of stomach fluff, a little bit of, back fluff, but nothing crazy. I definitely wouldn't call myself unhealthy or fat, but there's probably a little bit of that fat weight that will fall off. Time to check the weight. 175 on the dot. Believe it or not, this is actually about as heavy as I've ever been. I did a lot of working out, lifting weights over the winter, drank a lot of milk, and have tried to just kind of bulk up. So 175 is a starting point. That's relatively that's the heaviest I've ever been. We'll see how far that will come down. This is the last meal for potentially an entire week. I'm gonna try to keep it relatively healthy. I'm gonna kind of try to focus on proteins and fats. So gonna be eating eggs, a almond milk protein shake, gonna eat a banana, been snacking on some homemade pickled cabbage I've made, and some almonds. So trying to be, protein and fat forward, try to not have too many carbs, and this is gonna be the last meal I will eat before starting my fast. And now it is time for the last almond, the last bit of food I might be having for 7 days. So here goes nothing. Here we go. Okay, starting our 7-day fast. Here we are, 168 hours, starting now. Here we are, 2 o'clock the very next day, and I am 16 hours and 20 minutes into my 7-day fast. So I feel good, I feel energized. I've done 16-hour fasts for the past few weeks and am no stranger to intermittent fasting. I think 24 hours is the longest I've ever fasted, so this evening might be a little bit difficult. I suspect tomorrow will probably be the toughest day as my hunger chemicals start getting hungry. It is 19 and a half hours into my fast. I am now starting to feel the first effects of my body transitioning energy sources. So 19 hours after I last ate food, my body should be pretty much all out of external nutrition, and now my body is going to be transitioning to where it will be eating the fat for energy. So this theoretically should be the most unpleasant part of the fasting process, as my ghrelin levels are going up, and ghrelin is the hormone that regulates your desire to eat, your hunger. So I'm definitely feeling hungry. So I'm feeling a little tired, a little bit hazy, and a little bit hungry as my body is going through this transition. But hopefully what I'm, hoping for is that tonight it will probably be pretty unpleasant until I go to bed, probably be pretty unpleasant as I sleep, but hopefully by tomorrow my body will have made that transition, and then it will be relatively smooth sailing until I get later in the week and I've really gone through a lot of my fat stores. 24 hours in, 14% of the way through my fast according to this. So yeah, it's been a full day since I have ate food, and as of right now, I feel pretty decent. I would say what I would report as of now is that I do feel a bit hungry, but I would say that the waves of hunger today have been exactly that. They've been waves. So there will be times where it feels like I'm very hungry and my stomach kind of hurts and I really want food, and then it settles down. as I'm getting ready for bed, it is kind of settling back down. I don't feel like I'm craving food, like I'm super hungry. I definitely would eat and would like that, but overall feel good. Otherwise, physically feeling pretty nice, feel relatively alert. I mean, it's 9:40 and I've been, working and editing videos, and I went on a little rollerblade ride, not intense, but a little one. So I've had a full day and feel like I've had plenty of energy to get through that day. We'll see if I'm able to sleep through the night. I am hoping I can. And tomorrow, I hope I will wake up in a state where my body has completed its transition to using my fat as fuel, in which case my hunger should be a little bit more manageable and my energy should be hopefully a little bit more steady. So those are the assumptions. Hoping that's the case, but we will see. So quick update, let's see the weight. 172 on the dot. So yesterday I weighed 175. So 172, down 3 pounds. That's probably just food that I was carrying in my stomach normally. So we are 37 hours into the fast. It is 10:30 on a Wednesday morning. And shockingly, I feel great. On a scale of 1 through 10, my energy and just like overall mood and feeling is probably a 9.5. I'm feeling really good. I don't feel hungry at all. I feel energized, overall feeling great. So, what I would assume this means is that while I was sleeping last night, which I slept pretty good, but according to my Whoop band and my heart rate variability, I'm only 50% recovered. So even though I slept for about 9 hours last night, my body is in a state where it's saying it's only 50% recovered based on my heart rate variability. But what I would assume this means is that while I was sleeping last night, or the end of yesterday through the night, my body has transitioned to eating my fat. And so now, I've got, plenty of fat to go around. And so it's basically like I've got a full stomach because my stomach is full of fat. And it is 43 hours into the fast, coming up a few hours away from the 48-hour 2-day mark since I've last ate food. Today I felt pretty good, surprisingly good. There are waves still of both hunger and kind of energy and tiredness. One thing that I'm doing is doing some very slight workout. So I've got a 3-set routine here. But what I do want to do is put a little bit of stress on my muscle. And what that's going to do, it's going to signal to my body that I'm using my muscles. And so as my body is now in ketosis or autophagy, so to not eat my muscles, saying muscles are good, these are being used, let's keep them around, don't eat the biceps. It's weird not eating, I'll say that. Come lunchtime at work, typically, I'm hungry and I take an hour break and eat lunch, and I don't have that. So I've been doing stuff like working through the day, which is really weird. I just don't have any of those breaks to eat food. It's probably an hour and a half after the last clip. I did a little light workout and everything. Now is the first time since starting the fast where I feel pretty weird. I feel hungry. My mouth keeps watering. And I think maybe it has to do with, we got a Misfits Market box. So we've had all this fresh fruit and veggies, and gosh, I'm just looking at it and salivating, and I'm just like, my body and brain is just like, eat that food, and I'm not eating the food, and so it just makes me feel weird. So I would say this last 45 minutes has been the strangest feeling, and not necessarily great, just like hungry and seeing that food, and it's like basically dinner time when I normally eat. So yeah, and just a little bit almost like woozy feeling. So I'm gonna power through and see what happens next. The last probably 3 hours have been maybe the hardest so far. Emily's been cooking food, smelt so good in the house, and just all of this food was around. I was so hungry just seeing the food. Now that the food's away, I'm feeling better. I'm not nearly as hungry. But when she was cooking, oh my gosh, like I wanted food so bad. So here's an update. My body, still got some of this, chunk. I don't think my body's changed a ton. Maybe a little bit of slimmage. But let's see how much I'm weighing. Started at 175. Now 171. Last night was a little bit of a rough night of sleep, and I'll actually show you my sleep tracker on my Whoop band. So here is last night's sleep. I don't know if you can tell, but my recovery is down in the dumps. 25% recovery. Heart rate variability is 82, so that's super low. And just, it took a long time to fall asleep. This morning feeling a little strange, not necessarily bad, but kind of tired, a little bit groggy, and kind of want to eat.
No, it's fine.
I'm 65 hours into my fast, and I actually feel pretty decent today. Decent energy, pretty stable. My stomach doesn't really hurt. I will say I am hungry. So I got this package, a random package, wasn't expecting it, from my mortgage company. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? I open it up to find freaking cookies, and they are the most delicious looking thing. And it is so painful to look at those cookies. And then the other difficult thing is Emily is cooking, and so she's making pupusas. Just the smell of food alone is the most tantalizing thing. Like, I can hardly talk through how much my mouth is watering just smelling and thinking about food. So I'm not like hungry or struggling whenever food isn't around. Like, I feel like my hunger levels have kind of like dipped down and it's tolerable. But man, when the smell of food and when food is being cooked is going on, like, it is absurd how hungry and how much I want food. But yep, 65 hours in or so, but feeling pretty good. Excited to hit the 72-hour mark, the 3-day mark this evening. It's been 72 hours officially now since the fast began. So I've gone 3 entire days without eating a single bite of food. This day has definitely been rough. The first half of the day, not too bad. I didn't feel like I slept too well last night. But then this afternoon, probably after 2 to 3 p.m., my energy levels have just been way down. So probably started at a 6, then went to a 5, now at like a 4/3. So I'm just like pretty tired, ready for sleep. I'm not like hungry, but I want food so bad. Like, Emily's over cooking food. I'm getting ads for food. Every time I open up the fridge or even feed my dogs, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that food so bad. And I feel like I could go longer, but I consider it a success that I made 3 days fasting. I definitely would be in a state of autophagy. So I'm gonna carry it on. I'm gonna sleep through the night, see if I can make it through the day tomorrow. But since I made it to the day 3, I consider that a success. I set out to do 7 days. If I were able to get 5 days, I would be really happy with that. But I consider it a success just getting 3. So it's the morning of day 4, weighing 167.8. Means I am down about 7.5 pounds since I started. It is day 4. I am 85 hours into the fast. Have made it past the 3-day mark, past the over halfway mark. So I'm on the 4th day. And this morning was rough. Sleeping was a little bit rough, but now that I've woken up, I've hydrated, I've drank a cup of coffee, I'm feeling pretty good. So typically I have been feeling good from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Feeling good every day during those times, and then later in the evenings it's been a little more of a struggle. But Right now, I want to take a time and not dive super into the weeds of the fast, but I'll refer you to the resources where you can do that. But I wanted to give just a overview of some of the things that motivated me to do this and some of the reasons why I was doing this fast and a little bit of the science behind it. I'll see if I can sum it up in a way that's pretty clear. So before I dive into some of the science behind things, I wanted to give just two quick notes. One, I didn't come up with any of this myself. I am simply, translating some of the learnings that I've done by researching on my own, whether that's through Google or online, through hearing stuff by Dr. Peter Attia and the Drive podcast, which I highly recommend. Once again, that's Dr. Peter Attia and the Drive podcast, where he talks about optimizing health and longevity. It's where I've learned a lot of this stuff and a lot of how the body works. And I've also watched the YouTube channel from Dorian Wilson on YouTube, which he really gets in the weeds, dives into the science of fasting, all of this stuff I'm about to go through on a much deeper level, and explains everything in a way that I think is really, really well done, really clear, and made to where I felt comfortable following in their footsteps, participating on this water fast. Before I jump into the science, I did want to say what I have been drinking over the past few days. So since Monday night, the beginning of the fast, I have not ate a single bite of food. One of the things that I have been doing, I could leave out, is a cup of black coffee. I've been having a cup of black coffee each morning, and really just because I love coffee, it energizes me, makes me feel good. I have been having black coffee, no sweeteners, no anything in it. So, a black cup of black coffee is around 5 calories, but that amount of calories and carbs and glycogen or glucose is not enough to break me out of my fast. So I've been having a cup of black coffee. Probably could have more, but 1 cup a day has been good. I also have been supplementing with this product. So it's Super Fast by Brain Forza. Basically what it is it's, the vitamins and minerals your body needs on a daily basis. If you aren't eating foods, or, really your body needs this if you are eating foods, but it has things like, plenty of sodium, magnesium, iron, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, those types of minerals that your body still needs, especially sodium, that you might not be getting when you're eating foods. So I've been having, half a scoop 4 times a day, so 2 full scoops throughout this fast, just in water. So besides a cup of black coffee, besides 2 scoops of this a day, it has literally just been water that I've been drinking. So now that I've explained what that is, and I got that reference from, Dorian Wilson, the YouTube channel, highly recommend checking it out if you're interested. Also consult with the doctor, make sure this is something that you can pull off and that your body is healthy for. One more thing I wanted to note before I dive into the science is, kind of 1 to 2 lessons that I have learned about myself. And the first one started showing up at around the 2nd day. So I was going through my work day. Luckily, I work from home, and I would notice that after 45 minutes to an hour and a half of steady work, being focused, I would naturally just feel like I need a break. I would stand up or walk around. One thing that I was doing every single time I felt like I needed a break, I would stand up, walk to the kitchen, and I could just tell that I was looking for food. The second thing I've noticed is not just that I get hungry, because I feel like my hunger levels have been manageable. Yes, I get hungry. Yes, I want to eat. But what I feel like I have realized so much is that how much I just loved food. How much I want to be cooking, how much I want to be experimenting in the kitchen, eating something tasty. I am just someone that really has a passion for cooking, for food, for eating, and I'm missing that right now. The last thing that I'll mention that I've learned as well is how much of my day was spent around food. whether, every single day at work, I would take an hour off for lunch, and I would, make my lunch, I would eat lunch, I would sit there and just like enjoy eating my lunch and prepping my lunch, and then just chilling out for lunchtime. The same with dinner. Dinner was a whole process. It might be 45 minutes a night to, prepare a dinner, prepare a meal, sit down and eat it. And that's almost 2 hours each day that I'm getting back, not to mention breakfast if I ever ate it. So just realizing the amount of time that food took up is kind of crazy. So when talking about this, I'm going to start with what most of us probably will already know, and that's the body. And here is a poorly drawn example of our body. Side view, we have the stomach being shown here, and then these little green dots represent the fat that we store. And so what is fat? Fat that is stored is basically stored energy in our body. This is what our body does when we've ate too much food or we have extra energy. We store it as fat, and it's stored around the stomach, gut, butt. So typically we're eating 3 meals a day, meaning that, breakfast, lunch, dinner, we're putting food into our stomachs, and our stomachs are digesting that food, that nutrition, and producing energy. If we eat too much and have a caloric excess, that energy then gets turned into fat, which is stored, here. So when we're fasting, let's, look at this. And this is something I think most people will understand. So when we fast, we are no longer eating food. So after a day or two, our stomach has completely digested all of the food that has gone into our stomach, right? So once our stomach is empty, our body still needs to work, our brain still needs to function, and we still need to get around, but now we aren't having any external nutrition. So what does our body do? Our body looks not from the stomach and external food, but it looks to the fats. And so now, after a day or two of fasting, the body will start using this fat that we've stored up for just this reason to produce energy from. And this is what fasting is all about. Not relying on external nutrition from food, but starting to rely on the fat that we have stored in our body. I'm going to take this from the fasting state to an evolutionary perspective, which I always appreciate the explanations of. So for thousands and thousands of years, humans were nomads. We were hunter-gatherers. And so our bodies have actually evolved to operate in this fasted state. You might imagine our hunting patterns thousands of years ago. So we were, roving the plains and the Middle East or Africa or deserts and things of that nature. And of course, we would gather foods and try to eat things like berries and legumes and things like that. But lots of the times when we were on the move, it was because we were hunting down prey. So whether that was buffalo or bison or elk or, deer, you name it, elephants, what we were doing was on the move hunting down animals. And how we did this was by, outlasting and outrunning them. So we were never faster than these animals, but what we would do is just track and follow these animals until they were exhausted and couldn't run away any longer, and then we would kill them and eat them. So, what was this? So we would eat really large meals. We would kill, let's just say, a elk, for example. We would kill an elk. We would eat the elk, and then we would continue on our journey of hunting down the next prey. So our bodies, in a sense, were designed to overeat. We were designed to eat more food than we could take in at one time and store the excess in fat. And, once we've ate that food, it's stored as fat. Now we are moving on to our next prey. And, if we're lucky, we could find our next meal in a day. But lots of the times, from an evolutionary perspective, it might be several days to even several weeks
before we track down our next meal. And so if you think about this, going several weeks without a meal, our bodies, evolutionarily speaking, were trained to not just give up after 2 days of not eating, not feel horrible and just not function, because we would have died. We just would have died and not reproduced. But after we haven't ate for a few days, then we go into the state where we're eating our own fat and preserving our muscle. We still have to be able to run, track animals, think, problem solve, make decisions, and kill our prey once we catch it. So, from an evolutionary perspective, fasting makes a lot of sense because our ancestors were likely fasting on a, weekly to monthly basis. This was probably just a way of life, eating really big meals, storing fat, and then fasting until we get our next kill or prey. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the state of autophagy. And this is where I might get a little bit big for my britches and going a little bit deep into the science of things, but I think this is an important concept to understand. So hopefully we understand how, at kind of a macro level, no meals means that we're going to start using fat for fuel. And that kind of comes from how our bodies were designed from an evolutionary perspective. But this concept also happens at the micro level, at the cellular level. So that is called autophagy. Now here is a diagram of a cell. And within here we have some different cellular organs. I'm not going to name them. But then I've noted some of these red dots and red lines. What these represent is essentially what I'll call cellular clutter or cellular damage. Now, in a normal fed state, we're taking in so much excess nutrition that our bodies are just making new cells. So we eat food and our bodies will make, a second, third, fourth cell. They'll just create new cells, which, generally is a good thing. But what happens is that some of these cells that are older, that are, building up the cellular clutter or getting damaged, are kind of left behind. And that is kind of how diseases or how sicknesses or how cellular, issues can occur over time. So once we are in a fasted state, once our body is no longer in this nutritional excess, we start looking at fat, but our cells even start to change the way they process. Once our cells are, surrounded in a nutrient deficient environment, this process also happens within each of our cells as well, and that is called autophagy. And this is basically where a cell goes into a state of reparation. Instead of looking outward for nutrients to, build and expand with, the cell now says, hey, we don't have any excess nutrients, so what we have to do is make the most out of what we got. That is called autophagy, and this is where the cells are now looking inward and looking for potential things within each cell to use as fuel and to fix. So when you're in a state of autophagy, your cells at a microscopic level will look inside, they'll see all of this clutter, they'll see this damage and decide we don't have enough nutrients to build new cells, so let's use this clutter, this damage to try to fuel our growth, and let's repair what we have. So in the state of autophagy, the cells will start to repair themselves, they'll start to eat this clutter and clean and repair, and they might even fix this cellular damage, leaving you with some revitalized cells. Now, that might be a little bit of an oversimplification, but that essentially is the process of autophagy. And it's a state that almost no people actually end up in this modern world. Now, let me tell you how the state of autophagy and that cellular cleansing process can lead to benefits in your health and fight against, diseases such as neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Now, there's just beginning to be, some good research on this, but let me explain kind of the mechanism here. So Alzheimer's disease, or, elderly dementia or neurodegenerative diseases, or even other diseases, but we'll stick with neurodegenerative. What happens is we have neurons, and I think you've probably heard of this before. Neurons are responsible for firing and sending signals throughout your brain and nervous system to tell your body to do something. Now, between two neurons, we have a pathway, right? And when this pathway is clear, neurons fire really, really well. But the same thing that happens up here, this clutter, this damage that builds up over time, can sometimes go, unmonitored or unnoticed. So over the course of a lifetime, we can start to build up cellular clutter or clutter within the nervous system that begins to block the neurological pathways. So once those neurological pathways begin getting blocked, then the neurons aren't able to speak to each other and send signals. This, from my understanding, is essentially what Alzheimer's is. Now, let's look at autophagy and how autophagy can affect that. Like we said, autophagy is the state of a cell looking inward, trying to declutter and fix the problems it has, rather than looking outward and replicating. So, if we take this to the brain is made of neurons and neurological cells. So the brain, when in a state of autophagy, does the same thing up here, but down here. So the brain will start to look at its neurons, start to look at the pathways, and begin processing different types of energy. We'll start to look at this clutter, this damage, these, problems that are starting to show in your neurological pathways, and it will start decluttering and using those as fuel through the state of autophagy. This is why fasting and the state of autophagy has been linked in some, primary and initial studies to preventing or helping stave off Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative disease, and potentially other cancers as well. Like I said, don't just take my word on it. Do some research. I highly recommend Dr. Peter Attia's The Drive podcast. It has a lot of different information about this, health optimization, longevity. That's really, really great. And if you're interested more in learning about the specifics of fasting, check out Dorian Wilson's YouTube channel. And he has, about 5 videos on fasting. They're all 40 minutes or so long, so they're longer, but very inclusive. I highly recommend it. But I hope that explanation was useful for you. It was definitely a simplified version of what's going on, and I am just reiterating what I have learned in the way that I have understood it, and I hope that can help you understand some of these topics a little bit better. But for some, clarification and feedback into why I'm doing this, my grandparents have all suffered from either elderly dementia or Alzheimer's. So neurodegenerative disease is something that runs in my family. And so, one thing that motivates me is trying to find ways that I can prevent that neurodegenerative disease from happening. And so fasting and the state of autophagy are, as far as I'm aware, some of the best ways you can do that. Another great thing is exercise. Don't underestimate the power of exercise. It's so powerful across everything. Exercise, good sleep, eating fish and omega-3s in a balanced, healthy diet is amazing, and you can't underestimate that. Have fresh fish once per week. It's a great recommendation. And then, occasional states of fasting and autophagy so our cells can begin to repair themselves and look inwards. But that is why I am doing this, and why I'm really happy with the results so far. So I will be keeping track of the science behind this, and right now it's still in the beginning stages, but I think there's a lot of promise here. I hope that explanation of things can understand and help you understand why I'm doing this and how some of these mechanisms might work within the body. Quick update. So we are 90 hours into the fast. It's Friday, 4:30, and for some reason today I have felt really good. And like right now, I feel really, really good. I feel like my brain is operating at a very
high level. I feel like my head energy is very strong, very high. I do feel like I wouldn't be able to exercise very hard, and there's still a little bit of, pangs of hunger every now and then, but mentally and, clarity wise, I feel kind of great, which is super weird. This morning I woke up kind of rough. Last night and yesterday was relatively rough. But feeling pretty good right now and getting some good work done into, a late Friday afternoon. I'm going to carry that forward. So just thought I'd give you a quick update. With this being said, I do feel hungry, but I don't think I'll break the fast tonight. We'll make it through the night till tomorrow, at least until day 5, and I'll feel super good about getting to day 5. That just feels like an awesome accomplishment for me. But we'll play it by ear tomorrow, and see if I really do want to push through to days 6 and 7. But just thought I'd give you that update. It's day 5, over 100 hours into the fast. It's like 110 hours into the fast, and I feel awesome that I've made it this far. Feel really good that I've been able to make it 5 full days without eating, and it's been nice. Like most days I do feel hungry. There will be waves of energy and tiredness. Yesterday afternoon I felt really good. This morning I don't feel really good. And according to my Whoop band and sleep tracker, my heart rate variability is way down. So it's almost as if I'm like sick. So, and I've lost 10 pounds now. I got on the scale, I weighed 165, and I weighed 175 at the beginning of this fast. So I've lost 10 pounds, and I'll just stand up and show you what that looks like as far as fat's concerned.
But first, let's get a refresher of what I looked like.
So this is me, pretty relaxed. I've got just a little bit of stomach fluff, a little bit of, back fluff, but nothing crazy. So lots of it was probably water weight, but this is what I look like now after the fast, or 5 days into the fast. Have most definitely lost a decent amount of fat. My stomach is trimmed up, and lots of fat's dropping off. So I guess, that's good, but I feel super good that I made it 5 days through the fast. And I set out to get 7, but ultimately I would have been pleased if I just got 3 and then stopped. And I feel really happy about getting to 5. And now it's just a matter of listening to my body. So, based on how I feel this morning, how much I miss food, and how hungry I am, and kind of just how depleted I feel, I think it is likely that today, on the 5th day, 114 hours in, I'll break the fast. And if that's the case, if I make that decision, I'll walk you through some of the things that I'm gonna do in order to break the fast, and why I'm breaking it the way I am, and how to not experience what's called refeeding syndrome. So will be exciting part of breaking the fast. Well, y'all, it is 112 hours into my fast, 12:30 on a Saturday, 5 days in, and I think it's time. Not quite yet time to eat, but time to pull the trigger on making the decision to eat. This morning has just been a little bit rough. Haven't quite recovered, and one thing I really want to do again is work out and exercise, and my body just doesn't feel like it's capable of that. And I miss food quite a lot. So what I'm gonna do is go and pick up my fast breaking meal, and then another meal for tomorrow, and I'm gonna get salmon. Salmon's gonna be the big fast breaker, and then I'm gonna get some steak for tomorrow, just because I have been like wanting steak and meat so bad. I just wanted food, but wanted that. So I'm gonna run to Whole Foods. So it's been a long road, but I'm happy to have made it through 5 days and excited to finally eat again. Since frankly, today, it's just not feeling that great. So, give me some salmon. Well, I'm back from Whole Foods and it is 3 p.m. on Saturday, and I am officially 114 hours into my 115 hour fast. And it's crazy. So today my energy has stayed relatively low, and I've decided I am going to break my fast at 4 p.m. or maybe just a little bit after, so I can hit 115 hours pretty cleanly. And I'm gonna be starting off with bone broth. So out of all the foods I've been craving this week, bone broth, I will say, is not one of them. But whenever I break the fast, I'll go into explaining a little bit of why I would be starting with bone broth and then some of the meals that are going to follow that. Okay, so we are within 10 minutes of me hitting the 15 hours fasted, or sorry, 115 hours fasted mark, which I feel super good about. That is just so many freaking hours fasted, 5 days, so incredible. So gonna be breaking the fast with the bone broth. And like I said in the last clip, Dorian Wilson and his YouTube videos explaining fasting and how to break fasting are kind of what's inspiring me to break my fast in this way. And so I definitely recommend checking out his videos for more detailed information. I'll just kind of reiterate what he says in a few different ways. So I'm gonna be breaking my fast in 10 or so minutes with this bone broth. And why I'm using bone broth first, and I'd love to just go to McDonald's and buy some burgers and fries and just chow down, but since it's been 115 hours since I've ate, my stomach enzymes are inactive. So those enzymes that are digesting foods, they haven't worked in 115 hours, almost a full week. So to get things started, I'm starting with liquid. So gonna do bone broth. It's got protein, it's got calories, it's got sodium, it's got all that amazing stuff that I can't wait to taste. So gonna start with that. Give it an hour or two to kind of start kicking my enzymes and digestive system into gear, and give me some good protein off the bat. Then a couple hours from now, maybe 2 hours, I'll have my dinner. Another thing that I will be doing is today I have lowered my intake of sodium and try to drink a little bit less water, so that whenever I do refeed and eat this bone broth, I don't take on and absorb excess nutrients. So since I've been supplementing with electrolytes and nutrients and water this entire week, I don't want to overdo it and cause what's called refeeding syndrome, where you take on water, you bloat, and it can be very unhealthy and dangerous even for your heart and lungs. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's kind of why I'm starting with bone broth. But man, I cannot wait. It's like literally 8 minutes away until I can heat this up and eat it and break my now 5-day, 115 hour fast. So, I'm excited for the bone broth even, but oh my gosh, that salmon and cucumber and tomatoes a little bit later I cannot wait. And there's just some other snack foods we have around the house, such as pickles and things like that I want to dive in. So I am looking forward, and I'll record the first bites. I did want to show you a little bit of my Whoop. So it tracks my recovery and the amount of strain I have on a given day. And it calculates most of this through my sleep and heart rate variability. So you can see I got 8.5 hours of sleep last night, but my heart rate variability was 73 and my recovery is 23%. So that's low, even though I got a lot of sleep. Say the day before I was at 32%, 97 heart rate variability. The day before, 25%, 82 HRV. 44, I think was this maybe the first or second day of the fast. Wednesday, yeah, that's the second day. So a little bit better there. And then 81 was the first day, and so you can see it's green, and my heart rate variability was 171. And then this was Monday, 93%. This was before I started fasting, or the day I began. And so just showing you that my heart rate variability in my body has been doing some weird things, and so it's telling me I am not well recovered at all. Here we go. I just missed it, but we just crossed the 115 hours fasted mark. Incredible. 115 hours without a bite of food. So I'm gonna get this bone broth heated up and go for it. All right, y'all, I have heated up, I heated up my bone broth, and I am about to break my fast with the first sip of calories and nutrition since Monday. So here we go. Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't know if a liquid's ever tasted so freaking good, but this bone broth, I mean, it's just broth. Like, there's nothing fancy to it, but man, my body's like, yes, you need that. So here we go. I'm gonna finish off this bone broth, and then in an hour or two, I'll make my dinner and update you with the results. All right, so it's about 2 hours later after I ate my beef broth, which was really good, but I have been working up an appetite and am hungry. So again, resources on why I'm choosing this food is better explained by Dorian Wilson, and the YouTube channel, I'll link it below. But I am breaking my fast with the main meal, which is a salmon fillet, and then some cucumbers and tomatoes tossed in olive oil. And kind of the main reasoning behind this is, one, I want protein. I need protein for my muscles and everything. So that's the salmon, and then we need some fats. And so salmon both has a good mix of fat and protein. So it should be a good meat here to break the fast. And then the vegetables, the tomatoes and cucumbers, those are low FODMAP foods, so it should be easy on the digestive system. Don't really have any carbs, gonna try to avoid carbs here, but I'm excited. I cooked up the salmon, it looks amazing, and I'm not gonna hesitate. I'm gonna dive right in. All right, first bite of legit food. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that salmon is what I needed. That tastes so good. All done, and I'm satisfied. That was so good. That salmon, I don't know if it's just because I haven't ate food in 5 days, or I absolutely crushed that salmon, but that was the best salmon I've ever had in my life. And oh man, I am satisfied. I'm full. I feel full. What the hell? What is this? Full? Who would have thought? So I feel full. And gosh, I could just curl up under a blanket right now and just go to sleep. But feeling good, feeling great. I probably will have a couple snacks before bed because it's Saturday night and it's 7 o'clock, so I might have just a couple bites of stuff, but not going to eat anything major. Might have like a couple bites of pickle. I shouldn't have much of it, but I'm making salmon and rice for Emily for when she gets back home, so I'll probably have a bite of rice, trying to avoid carbs and sugars. But I might have a bite of rice. I might have like half a cookie or something like that, just to satiate me. But yeah, that's my meal. So consider me refed. I am back on the stuff. And that's super exciting. So I'll probably snack a little bit more tonight, but probably have an update for you tomorrow, which will be the second day of refeeding. On the second day, the protocol is that you should try to probably avoid carbs, but it's not gonna be at the end of the world. So I might make some sweet potatoes, have some lower FODMAP carbs like sweet potatoes, probably eat a steak later in the day, and then the big thing is to try to eat less than I normally would. It'd probably be best to eat around 50% of a normal day's intake, but if I get up towards 75%, it won't be a huge deal. I feel like my appetite, since my stomach's probably shriveled up, won't be that big anyways, because that meal just stuffed me. So yeah, I'll give you an update tomorrow on how things go, but we're refed. We have food back in the stomach and it feels good. It is Sunday morning, the day after I have ate and broke my fast last night. After that meal of salmon, tomatoes, and cucumbers, which was so good, throughout the rest of the night, the next like 3 to 4 hours, I was still super hungry and ready to eat. So I went ahead and snacked on a bunch of stuff, and I wasn't as diligent as I probably could have been. Like, I ate part of a cookie, I ate just like a few chips, I had some pickles, I had some more salmon, so I kind of munched out, but my body was just telling me to eat some more, so I did. But I watched, I didn't eat too much, thanks to Emily, kind of keeping me from chowing down. But it was nice, and this morning, so it's Sunday, I feel great. My Whoop band my recovery is already up 25%, and I just feel really good having food in my stomach. And this might be a little bit too TMI, but I wanted to let you know that since I was fasting, I hadn't ate from Monday until Saturday. I hadn't pooped since Monday. So literally Monday morning, 6 or 7 days ago, was the last time I pooped. And since I ate yesterday, today, Sunday, is going to be, I think, the first poop in about 6 or 7 days. So wanted to let you know that. A little TMI. It's going to be weird. I hope it's not bad. I don't know what to expect, but that is by far the longest I've ever gone without taking a shit. So that's some good stuff. All right, it is Sunday and the day after I broke my fast, and today was such a nice day. I was able to put a little bit of sugar and milk in my coffee, which I've missed. I was able to eat eggs and some toast for breakfast. And then me and Emily were able to go out and rollerblade. So we went out and rollerbladed for probably 2 hours. And just having that energy and being okay to expend that energy and sweat just felt amazing. And we were able to even stop at a little local place and grab a beer. So definitely wasn't able to do that on the fast. So just a really good day. So this is probably going to conclude the video. I hope that through this process I answered most of the questions you might have around fasting. Once again, if you think about doing a fast, definitely look into it. It can be pretty dangerous for most people, so you'll definitely want to see your physician before doing it, so before jumping right in. But for me, looking back at it, I learned a handful of things. I learned about how resilient my body was and how far I could go without eating. And I probably could have gone a lot further, but it was starting to get uncomfortable for sure. 2, I learned how good fasting is for burning fat. And I learned exactly what stages and how long my body takes to go through different stages of ketosis and fasting and autophagy. So that was really fun. I learned about my love for food. And even though I'm not necessarily hungry, I just really love food, and I look forward to meals, and I like snacking, and food is just a really big part of my life that if I go without, I feel like I'm missing out. So there's a lot of lessons learned. Going forward, I'm probably going to still try to do intermittent fasts. Usually I do 5 or so days a week of intermittent fasting. And, I might do extended fasts every once in a while. And I think maybe 3 days water fasting every month or 2, twice a year, do an extended maybe 5-day fast like the one I just did. So pretty crazy. I hope this was a fun and informative video for you. I appreciate you watching this crazy journey, sticking in with me throughout this whole experience, and probably bearing with me whenever I've been a little bit grumpier in my clips than normal. So Thank you so much. If you want to see more content like this, you like experiments or want to, suggest any other things I should look into and try out, feel free to leave that in a comment below. I appreciate your likes, your comments, your subscribes. It really means a lot to me and keeps me going. So thank you for all of the support. To see more and follow along with me more, go ahead and check out my Instagram at I'm.the.ryan. I, was documenting this fast through Instagram as well. So those who were my Instagram followers got to see through my stories and posts the daily progression through this fast, and got to, provide feedback and ask questions along the way. So go check that out. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. And as always, thank you for keeping it real with Ryan.